You know, there are certain things in professional wrestling where all fans, journalists, content creators, other wrestlers, just the entire community knows undeniably that something should happen. For instance, Daniel Bryan winning the title at WrestleMania 30. Or Kofi Kingston winning his heavyweight title. Or most recently, Drew McIntyre winning a heavyweight championship over Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 36. These are all decisions that all of us in the pro wrestling community knew had to happen. It was in the air. The stars had aligned. A beautifully told story. The right time, the right place. And then on the flip side, there are those times the entire professional wrestling community knows undeniably that something should not happen. Ever. Like for instance, Charlotte Flair winning the Royal Rumble just to take the title off of Rhea Ripley and literally take over the entire NXT roster. Because that's what happened. When it was clear the entire fucking time, but never more evident than this past Sunday when she dropped the title to Io, that there was never even a plan for all of this horse shit. McMahon knew people were tired of the Golden Child on SmackDown. McMahon knew the people were tired of the Golden Child on Raw. So what does McMahon do? He sabotages Triple H's NXT too in the process. Anything and everything. Anyone will be sabotaged if it means trying to get the Golden Child over. But she drops the title Sunday, doesn't even get defeated, Rhea gets done dirty, while Flair remains completely protected. Who got elevated in NXT by Charlotte Flair being there? Because that's what I was told when I raised my concerns initially and all throughout the last 2 months that Charlotte has been NXT champion. I was getting some naysayers saying, BC, she's there to elevate the NXT women's roster. Well, I was already seeing a badass, dominant women's roster. I didn't see any holes in the game that needed Charlotte Flair to help them, but okay. I said maybe BC's wrong here for once. Maybe I'll take a seat and I'll let all the naysayers be correct. Maybe Charlotte's there to help NXT. Who did she help? Who did she elevate? Because when I'm thinking of Charlotte Flair's title reign and her being in NXT, I'm picturing her defeating Mia Yim. I'm picturing her defeating Candice LeRae. I'm seeing a one-on-one match with Io Shirai, and I don't remember Io beating Charlotte Flair. No, that ended in a schmaz. Even this triple threat title match where she dropped the title, she never actually lost. My question is, did Charlotte even lose a match in NXT? Because I can't think of one match that she lost. I'm coming up with individuals she beat. There's times where she didn't come out the winner, but she sure as hell didn't come out the loser. So who did she elevate? It's a rhetorical question. She elevated nobody. And BC Amplify told you that was going to happen. So she loses, drops. She doesn't lose anything. She dropped that title on Sunday night. And we all said as a wrestling community, all right, huge WWE blunder. Shayna Baszler was supposed to win the Rumble. That would have hugely elevated Shayna Baszler. There was a last-minute audible. McMahon wanted to go with the Golden Child. Look how that worked out for Baszler. We haven't even seen her since. Or yes, we have. She's been losing and looking like a clown since. Baszler's sidelined. No injury, just sidelined. They ain't got shit for her. They're saying now maybe in the future they're going to give her a big title run. Okay, we heard that many times with so many before her. So they called the audible on Baszler. That would have truthfully helped her so much. Charlotte wins the Rumble, and we all know what happened after that. Rhea Ripley, who was getting a little bit of a rocket strapped to her back, that rocket died down instantly when Charlotte Flair got to the roster. And there goes Rhea Ripley's momentum. Shayna Baszler ruined in the process. You had Rhea Ripley ruined in the process. Mia Yim gets defeated. Candice LeRae gets defeated. Io has still yet to even beat Charlotte Flair. Actually beat her. Pin, submission. All of this happened in the last couple of months because they made the blunder initially to have her win the Rumble because they had to have her involved with something big for WrestleMania. Why? Why? What makes her so fucking special? She's a good wrestler. She's not immaculate. Can we stop pretending like Charlotte Flair is the greatest thing since Netflix's Stranger Things? She's a good wrestler. You can even call her great. She is not epic. Stop. So she loses or drops that title Sunday night, and we're all thinking as a community, this is the perfect time to just shelf her for a minute. Just for a little bit, repackage and think, what are we doing with Charlotte? Because more and more people by the week, even Charlotte fans, are starting to say, okay, this is a bit much. Or wow, she really is in all these main events. She really is getting all these titles or at least opportunities, while so many others aren't even getting airtime. Forget catering. They're not even being called to the PC. This time that could have been going to Shayna Baszler. This time that should be going to Ruby Riott. Where is she? Liv Morgan. Where is she? Bianca Belair. You don't even go here. I love Bianca. Where's Bianca? I'm naming you a list of names that can't even get airtime. And here Charlotte is, not just on 3 brands, but multiple segments a show. Time after time, week after week, month after month. At what point do you say, all right, it's not working? Not only are you not going over, more and more fans are getting upset. More and more fans don't even want to see you on their television set. That's what's happening. So 24 hours after she drops that title and we're all thinking, good, press the reset button, let Charlotte go on a little fucking, even if it's fucking 2-3 week vacation, just give us all a little bit of time away from Charlotte, please, because this has been way too much, more than ever before the last couple of months. But 24 hours after she drops that title, the Golden Child is pinning Asuka, the Raw Women's Champion, who just got that title a couple of weeks ago. And the champion is already getting pinned. Why? Because it's the Golden Child. What does Charlotte have to do with Asuka right now? Asuka is going into a title match with Nia Jax. 6 nights from last night. 5 days from now. Nia Jax is next up for Asuka. The last thing a champion should be doing to anybody going into a pay-per-view is losing a match. That's the last thing anybody who's going into a big pay-per-view match, even if you don't have a title, you shouldn't be losing a match right before the pay-per-view. That's Wrestling 101. But not only is somebody losing before a big match at a pay-per-view, your champion is losing, all to somebody who there's no reason other than McMahon has the biggest hard-on for this person. That's the only conclusion. And she didn't even get pinned last night. Even Asuka was like, fuck this, I ain't getting pinned by you, bitch. Asuka's even like, nah, I changed my mind, I ain't doing no job. But it wouldn't matter. You go back and look at that pin last night. Asuka had her shoulder completely off the mat. In fact, when they did the replay, they conveniently cut out at 2. Because they knew Asuka had her entire arm up. But it doesn't matter anymore. The referee just counts to 2 these days, and if it's Charlotte Flair, that's basically a 3 count. It's good enough. Charlotte only has to get a 2 count. Asuka didn't even actually get pinned, but you know what? And you could say, oh, BC, they use that as storyline, man. No, they didn't. Guys, they didn't even mention it afterwards. In fact, they went out of their way to not show it. Now, I'm sure the community is going to raise a big fuss over this over the next week. So you're probably going to hear them talk about it next week at some point. Maybe even today on WWE.com or some bullshit. They'll probably start talking about it, but that's only because the community started talking about it first. WWE hit it last night. They did a switcheroo camera angle, which we still picked up on it, and then when they did the replay, they cut out at 2. Never mentioned it on the broadcast table, right? If it was part of a storyline, you would say, wait, I think Asuka got her arm up, which was evident, clear as day. No. Some people are like, oh, I don't mind this because Asuka didn't lose clean and blah. Yes, she did. Nia Jax came out the littlest of distractions. In fact, Asuka ended up taking out Nia. And then she turns around into a big fucking boot. I don't care what the situation is. Your champion should not be losing nights before a big title offense at a pay-per-view. That's Pro Wrestling 101. So you wonder why championships aren't prestigious anymore. Well, that's because your champions are losing nonsensical bullshit matches in the middle of these shows. Why champions aren't looked at as champions anymore because they're booked as clowns. If we've seen the champion already lose flat on her back in insignificant matches, why would we care about that champion at a bigger venue? We've already seen them lose in simplistic matches. We're supposed to take them serious in the most dramatic of matches? It's not going to happen. We are always subconsciously taking inventory of what we are taking in, what we are viewing. And if you do something horribly consistently or good consistently, we will constantly take inventory of that. That's the difference, and that's why so much depends on good booking. Because if you consistently book somebody good, we then get in our subconscious that this person is the real deal. When you consistently book somebody horribly, we already have in our subconscious that that is a loser. Or we shouldn't take it serious. Even if we want to, it's already in our subconscious. And our subconscious is even more powerful than our actual conscious up front. A lot of the time. And when it's already instilled in our dome pieces that the championships and the champions are complete jokes, you're not going to get much care. Asuka deserves much better than what she got last night. Something about Asuka and Charlotte Flair, McMahon just doesn't see Asuka beating Charlotte. Just doesn't happen. And this was the worst time. Why she needed to be taking on Asuka and defeating Asuka nights before Asuka has a huge match. Why? This is because they had to make sure, even though she was totally protected Sunday night, she never got beat. They had to make sure that everybody knew that she was still the golden child. Take one of my main roster champions and have them flat on their back. And there's still going to be someone out there that doesn't have a problem with this. Charlotte's a great wrestler, and she deserves all these victories. You keep believing that. You're not fooling me. I, thankfully, was born with a dome piece that is bright, that uses common sense and logic. You're only fooling yourself. Ruby could have had some airtime last night. Liv Morgan could have had some airtime. Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, they all could have had some airtime. Charlotte just had this pay-per-view match on Sunday night. Just let her go on a vacay for a week. Let her stay home for a week. No, let's have her beat our main roster champion nights before a big event. Yeah, let's do that. I can't fathom the decision making, and it gets to the point where the stupidity actually gets me to a frustrated point. This has to stop. I think we all can agree this has to stop. How many people are going to be ruined in the line of the Charlotte tornado? And you look at the pendulum years later, and it hasn't swayed one bit. The fan reaction isn't more behind Charlotte. Charlotte isn't over. Charlotte is becoming more and more despised. More and more, even Charlotte fans are starting to say, all right, now I see what you mean. BC, this is a lot, man. Like, where is Bianca? Why aren't we seeing Liv more? I'll tell you why. McMahon only has the capacity in his dome piece for Charlotte Flair. Something has to be done. This is absolutely unfucking real at this point. This is bad. Really bad for so many females on that roster. The female roster can never truly flourish until Charlotte Flair, something is done with her character, with her booking, with the creativity that goes into her. It has to be a repackaging to the likes we've never seen. Because what they're doing with her and what they have been doing to her, to say it's not working is an understatement. It's absolutely having the opposite effect. And it's destroying the division. It's destroying the product. Unreal, guys. I'm going to down some frap, recollect, and we're going to do the Raw review for June 8th, 2020. Let's hit up the warning sequence. All right. On my second frap. So I think we should be good now. Unfortunately, guys, we're not going to be finished with Charlotte Flair. I know that was over 15 minutes easily in that cold open. But there's a lot more Charlotte Flair on this show. And there's a lot more that I'm going to unload. There's no way, I can't let it slide anymore, you know? As somebody who has watched this go on for too long, I mean, I've said so much in the past about the situation, and it doesn't change, or get better, I should say. It just gets worse. And something, I don't know, but on my platform, I have to... I always promised you guys I was going to speak nothing but honesty and tell you guys the real truth, right down the middle. And if that means if that means pounding on one subject, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. Raw kicks off with Asuka awaiting Charlotte for their match, but she gets Sasha, Banks, and Bayley instead. I was pumped when Sasha came out first, thinking Asuka, Sasha face to face. Fuck yeah. But there's Bayley Two Belts. Who doesn't want to be called Bayley Two Belts, by the way? She doesn't want to be in Becky's shadow, she said. Tough shit. You're Bayley Two Belts. Because they're attached at the hip, of course. So you can't just have Sasha come down the aisle. Sasha always has to be with Bayley. McMahon has got it in his head that they're friends. They're always together backstage. Let's keep them together because, hell, I ain't got anything for them anyway. So we are going to get Sasha and Bayley joined at the hip for the rest of their careers. I mean, when is their feud actually going to happen, right? We keep hearing it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Oh, it's going to be here, it's going to be there. And Vince always pulls it back. Oh, it's going to be SummerSlam. Oh, now they're going to hold off. They're going to wait for there's a crowd. And then by then, Vince will change his mind again. We've been waiting years for Sasha and Bayley. By the time it actually comes, let's be honest, are we really going to be fucking excited? After years of being told it's going to happen? Like we're supposed to anticipate this more than like when I was a kid waiting for Christmas morning. No! It's going to lose its luster over time, and it already has. So now we just have Sasha, and it's frustrating Because when you know how good Sasha Banks is and all the cool matches, all the awesome storylines that she could have been in the last 2 years, and instead, she's attached to Bayley. You can't even get Sasha's music to play for more than 10 seconds anymore. 5 seconds. Right? You just want to hear the music play. You want to see Sasha come down the aisle. You want Sasha to have all these one-on-one matches. Charlotte Flair gets 1 million of them a month. Sasha can't even buy a singles match. When she can't win. She just got her first victory in over 6 months just a couple weeks ago. That should tell you something. We can't even have her music, but we can't have Sasha feel like a singles competitor. Not for the last couple years. Joined with Bayley. At the hip. 2 peas in a fucking pod. It's nauseating. If Sasha wasn't that good, I'm fine with it. But because she's that fucking good, to see her in a nonsensical BS tag team with the SmackDown Women's Champion now of all things, she's booked as nothing more than sidekick Sasha. You got Bayley 2 belts and you got sidekick Sasha. And that pains me to say because I love Sasha Banks. This is fucking horrible. So anyway, I saw Sasha hit the top of the ramp and I'm thinking, oh, Sasha's going to go face to face with Asuka, and all of a sudden the music stops and here comes Bayley. Of course, because they're a team. Anywho, Charlotte joins the party because where there's females, there has to be Charlotte Flair. Then the Iconics, iconic, because I like the Iconics. I'm not going to go too hard on them. They're actually entertaining to me, at least. Somehow Asuka and Charlotte clear house. 4 people taken out by 2 in just 3 seconds. Makes total sense. There's your tag team champions. Oh, man. But that's not what perturbs me the most. What befuddles me to frustration is the fact that they are once again booking Charlotte as the face. At least in this segment. What the fuck? They do this with Charlotte all the fucking time because they don't know what they're doing. With the entire roster, but especially Charlotte, because they know they want Charlotte to be this face of the company type of individual, but they also know the fans aren't buying it. So they have Charlotte play every role imaginable. Face, heel, tweener, you name it. She'll do it all in one show. And they don't understand that in the process, they're just ruining her even more. I mean, she's supposed to be the heel, right? For the last several months. And of course, before that, she was a face. And before that, she was a heel and then a face and then a heel before that. She's already switched 10 times in just the last 3 years. Face, heel. So already, you're looking at it as a joke. But especially lately, I mean, you saw it with Friday Night SmackDown last Friday or the week before when she was in that promo with Sasha and Bayley. But we already know that Sasha and Bayley are your main heels on SmackDown for the females. Charlotte is cutting a face type interaction with them. But then by the end of the night, she's the heel again. Same thing with Monday Night Raw. Here she is side by side with Asuka, talking trash to the Iconics and Sasha and Bayley, all heels. And then the 2 faces for that segment, Asuka and Charlotte, clear house. Iconic, Sasha and Bayley all thrown out of the ring. And that, of course, leads into a tag match that I'll get to in a minute. But this isn't the first time is what I'm saying. Charlotte is always straddling the line. She'll cut a heel promo and then she'll do actions that justify what a face would do. And then she'll go right back to heel. If you need her on all 3 brands to get over, if you need her to have 10 title reigns in just a couple of years to get over, if you need her to be the face and a heel at the snap of a finger, and after all of that, she's still not over, maybe it's just not working. Maybe all of this just isn't working. We went through the same game with Roman Reigns for over 4 years, 5 years really. And the pendulum never switched. The same amount of fans that didn't want to see him in all these main events and championships before, it didn't switch. Nobody else came to the yard. Nothing happened. Because it just wasn't working and they refused to change. Charlotte Flair is fucking good, no doubt. Acting like she's incredible is just foolish. And treating her like she's the greatest thing since juice boxes is absolutely mind-bogglingly pathetic. You don't know if she's a face or a heel in what she is doing in the promos and in the ring. Her actions aren't matching her promos. Her matches don't justify a heel if she's tagging up with Asuka to take on the heels last. This is what I'm saying. This is logic and common sense that many of you guys might want to overlook just because you want to be entertained. You want to sit back and enjoy it. And then you want to tell people like me with common sense and logic that I should sit back and enjoy it. Or if I don't like it, don't watch. Something I love for over 30 years. I can't stand my New York Knicks right now. They've been playing like trash for the better part of 2 decades. Does that mean I stop watching my New York Knicks? There was years where my Green Bay Packers absolutely sucked. I didn't just stop watching them, and I'm glad I didn't because I was there for their Super Bowls. Come on, man. Understand, a lot of us aren't just going to stop watching. We're going to voice our frustrations. We're going to help try to change this shit. That's what frustrates me. The face-heel bullshit. Side by side with Asuka last night. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, you want to go to the opening contest last night after a commercial break, we have a weird-ass triple threat tag match schmaz. No title on the line. And so no purpose for the match. Iconics versus Charlotte and Asuka versus Sasha and Bayley. As I aforementioned, a clusterfuck of chaos ending with Asuka defeating Billie Kay. Post-match, Charlotte attacks Asuka, so now she's definitely a heel again. Until next week when she could possibly be a face. Again. Are you keeping track? Me neither. They'll do anything to put her on any segment, even if it doesn't make sense. Next, Seth Rollins is at the commentary table underneath the headset as they talk via Zoom or satellite or FaceTime, who the fuck knows, some shit, with Rey Mysterio, who is at home playing up the eye injury angle. Mysterio says, and I quote, "When I see you, I'm gonna hit you with a 619. What the fuck? Storyline-wise, Rollins attempts to end your career by taking out your eye. And Rey's retaliation is a 619? The dude is at home. There was talks of retirement. He may never be able to be cleared to compete again, was his words. And your retaliation is, when I see you, I'm gonna give you a 619. Come on, man. He says, I'm not going to wait till the end of the match to give you a 619. I'm going to hit you with a 619 right at the beginning of the match. Rollins, look at Rollins' face. You can tell he just wants to fucking crack up. He's like, oh no, not the 619. What am I going to do? How dumb does that sound? Just asking for a friend. It's rhetorical. Very fucking dumb. A tag match follows. Rollins' disciples Murphy and Theory versus Aleister Black and Humberto. Because after that whole interactions with Rollins and Mysterio via satellite or whatever, Aleister Black came out of nowhere, jumps Rollins over the commentary table. We went to commercial and then we came back to that tag match. Again, that's Black and Humberto versus Murphy and Theory. 4 really good wrestlers, 1 really short match. Less than 5 minutes and Black pins Murphy. That's great for Black. Murphy? You thought when he joined with Rollins that was going to be something for Murphy? The dude's losing in a nonsensical BS 4-minute tag match. Like nothing. Yes. That's Murphy. And Theory. There you go. Post-match, Rollins joins in. He came out to Rey Mysterio's music in Rey's mask. And then he takes it off, and then it's a 3-on-2, and that proves to be too much for Black and Humberto. So they get destroyed by Rollins and Theory and Murphy, but the damage was done, dude. Murphy and Theory just lost in over 4 minutes. It's done. No matter what you do after the match is not going to make you look badass. Relax on that shit, all right? You were booked poorly. You look like clowns. Eat that shit. Hour number 2 begins with the return of Christian in the Peep Show. Special guest Edge. Edge continues to show extreme doubt 6 nights away from his match with Randy Orton at Backlash. Christian lights a fire underneath the ass of Edge the size of Staten Island. I loved Christian's promo. Orton comes up on the Tron and tells them both to just shut the hell up, and Orton proceeds to cut his own masterpiece of a promo. Edge, Christian, and Orton last night, as I knew they would, just cut fire promos. All 3 dudes showcasing a clinic on how to cut a promo. Please teach that to the Performance Center kids for their bullshit little promo class that they have down at the PC. Because you guys know, if you don't, they have these promo classes, and it's supposed to teach up-and-coming wrestlers how to cut fire promos, right? How to sound believable and really own your shit. What they aren't realizing is, first and foremost, you have to have that it factor, right? You have to have it within you. That's not something you can teach. You can hope that they get better, but you can't teach that shit. That's what made promos back in the day so fucking awesome. Whether it was Hulk Hogan or Roddy Piper or Ric Flair. Or Warrior and Macho Man, where you didn't even understand what they were saying, but you knew you were captivated because you believed their fucking ludicrousy. It was awesome. Right into Stone Cold and The Rock. You know, these are all individuals that got to go out there and do their thing. They just had that it factor, and they just let it flow, and we were captivated. Nowadays, you have everybody as a carbon copy of one another. They're shooting out pro wrestlers from the Performance Center like Amazon shoots out fucking boxes. And what's happening is everybody's a carbon copy. I'm seeing the same fucking shit, but nobody's truly standing out. There's no larger-than-life characters anymore. There's just professional wrestlers. Well, that's great, but they're a dime a dozen. I could see great wrestlers and great wrestling matches down at the local bingo hall. I would hope to expect more, at least, or that I should expect more from a product like WWE. But, you know, you have to have these old school guys to come in and cut these fire promos, like Christian, like Orton, like Edge. You put them all in one promo, we're captivated. Somebody teach this to the Performance Center kids, that you can't teach it. You know? You have to go in front of your own mirror at home and really see if you got it or you don't got it. And if you don't got it, that's a big issue. As far as the greatest wrestling match ever that this is being promoted as, Edge versus Orton this Sunday night, they backed themselves into a corner. This might have been done up front to be a troll job because everybody shit on their WrestleMania match, except for me. You give me Edge and Orton beating the hell out of one another all around a fucking building for 37 minutes, I'm hooked. And I'm an old school fan. I don't need all these flippity-doo-dah dives. You know, I don't need all of that type of shit. I just need the simplistic, basic foundation. Orton, Edge, 37 minutes, beat the hell out of one another. That's all I need. But a lot of fans today totally shit on that, so I think this was a troll job originally. They denied that in some interviews. Oh, this isn't a troll job. No, not at all. I absolutely believe it was a troll job because Orton was even using that in social media posts to blast back at fans. So I think this was absolutely a troll job. Whether it was or wasn't doesn't matter anymore. Because once you get to Sunday, there are fans that are going to be having high expectations. I'm not one of them because I see the BS in all this. But there's fans that are going to show up with such high expectations. How the fuck do you deliver? You can't. You called yourself the greatest wrestling match ever. I don't see, and I like Edge, and I like Orton, I don't see them beating Steamboat and Savage. I don't see them beating Shawn Michaels and Undertaker from 25. And so many others beforehand. I don't even see them beating Michaels and Bret Hart WrestleMania 12 Iron Man match, which wasn't one of my favorites, but I don't even see them beating that. So, I mean, is this an ultimate troll job where like something happens and they become rated RKO again, right? We don't even got a match, right? Is this a true culmination of a troll job? And they don't even compete Sunday. You know, they join forces or some shit. Could be, I don't know, but there's got to be something more planned here. They're not actually going to go in there for 25 minutes, put on the greatest wrestling match ever. Not even close. So that's my concerns with that. Or do they have us in the palm of their hands? Do they know something that we don't know? I'm hoping, right? That's why I love pro wrestling, man. You got to shock the fans, even in today's society where there's so much electronics at our disposal to find out all the news or to jump deep dive into information. You got to find ways to shock us. Backstage, Lashley annihilates 24 champ R-Truth with that vicious full Nelson. Lashley looked beast status in this segment. I loved it. And a shout out to MVP for sporting that badass Shad Gaspard t-shirt. That was really cool, man. Awesome homage. And on top of that, it was actually a badass shirt. So much love to Shad Gaspard and his family still. Next was the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders in a decathlon. Did you guys ever have field day in middle school? That's what this was. Just you go out into a field and you do a bunch of games. This was field day in middle school. This is your tag team champions for WWE Raw. And this is what was once one of the most feared tag teams in all of pro wrestling, the Viking Raiders. Back then, War Machine. And now they're having field day. Yeah, I could talk a half an hour about this, right? This could have easily been my cold open. The over 15 minutes that I dedicated to Charlotte, I could have dedicated to this segment. But I'm not. I'm not even going to touch it. Okay? Yes, absolutely, by the way, in case you're going to say, BC, I found some of it entertaining. I did too. I absolutely laughed a few times during that whole decathlon. I laughed a few times. And that's the problem. For 5 weeks, we've chuckled. We got a good laugh out of the Viking Raiders in your tag team champions. That's awesome. 5 weeks in a row. Cool. I'm not done with them. We're going to discuss them more because they were in another segment. The Raiders were actually in a match. Oh, we're going to discuss that in a minute. Kevin Owens versus Garza versus Andrade is up next. It's a triple threat to determine the number one contender for Apollo's U.S. title at Backlash. Owens stunners Garza. Andrade then throws Owens out of the ring and pins Garza. So Owens does the work. Andrade gets the victory. And this is all at the expense of Garza. Andrade versus Apollo is official for 6 nights, 5 days from now, by the time you're watching this, at Backlash. Andrade, Apollo, U.S. title. And again, that's because Garza got pinned and Owens was in this match, but it didn't matter. He gets nothing. There's no secondary prizes here. Backstage, Andrade and Garza actually had some dissension because in that match, Zelina Vega got inadvertently hit. So she had to be taken to the back. Zelina was pissed backstage. She didn't even talk to them. They were arguing. Zelina just pointed like, go. And they both were like, all right. Like they were getting scolded by mommy or some shit. They just took off. So it looks like there's dissension between Garza and Andrade. But either way, it's Andrade and Apollo for the title. And I'm okay with that match. This is WWE for you, right? Just nights away from the pay-per-view. That's when we will decide who the number one contender is. I just missed back in the day when everything was planned out and everything was giving care, attention, time, effort. It was all put into these storylines. And now, days away from the event, we're getting a number one contender. The company, McMahon, the suits and ties, they don't even know what they're doing anymore. You know, they get around a boardroom table meeting and they're like, what? There's a pay-per-view this Sunday? We only have 3 matches? It's unreal. Hour number 3 starts with a segment that was somehow more strange than the segment that started the show. You know, it just didn't make sense. The start of the show. Nothing did. This segment was probably even stranger. It was the MVP lounge. Drew McIntyre is going face to face with Lashley. The Viking Raiders and the Street Profits come to the ring. Why? I get there's a tag match coming up, but what the fuck do these two teams have to do with Lashley and McIntyre? It's their face to face. In fact, McIntyre headbutted MVP, so he's out of the equation. So now it's literally Lashley and McIntyre. And the Viking Raiders and Street Profits come down to the ring like they're best friends. They're all four of them. And like, just let Lashley and Drew do their business. What the fuck are you all doing down here, dude? It's literally just so out of place. We come back from commercial and we have Lashley and MVP versus the Viking Raiders. Can't believe what I was seeing. The Viking Raiders actually wrestling. Thought for sure they'd be backstage playing Monopoly or horseshoes. Maybe a riveting game of musical chairs. And you know what the sad part is, guys? The Raiders probably hoped that if they played along with these stupid games over the last 5 weeks, they'd get a big push when they get back into the ring. That was probably their hope. But here they are, and they tapped out to Lashley's full Nelson last night. Great for Lashley, by the way. Continue to book him like a beast with that full Nelson. I love it. This is the Lashley that we should have been seeing when he returned to WWE. And I love the full Nelson, especially when somebody like Lashley is performing it, just like he did to R-Truth earlier in the night. So I love that. But why are the Viking Raiders in that situation? You've been treating them like sideshow freaks for 5 weeks. And then when they actually get in the ring, they're even worse. And they tap out to Bobby Lashley like nothing. I can't, you guys got to think about not just what we saw in NXT, but if you're a fan like me, you knew what they were doing before they even got to NXT. So the Raiders tapping out so simplistically last night, it makes you think this was one of the most feared tag teams before and during their NXT days, and now they're playing hopscotch with some profits and tapping out in meaningless tag matches. It's fucking sad what has happened to the Viking Raiders, to War Machine. It's amazing how so quickly McMahon could take something so epic and ruin it. Back in the day, McMahon would take something so poor and turn it into gold. McMahon was a genius back in the day. Today, he takes things that are already gold and he ruins it. Turns it to shit. McMahon is like the opposite of a genius these years. I've been having fun and getting frustrated the last 5 weeks with these whole Viking Raiders playing games. But it never was more tragic than last night when they finally got in the ring and I was thinking, okay, maybe after doing all of that for Vince, they'll finally get a push. They'll finally look like something other than a sideshow freak. And no, they just, I want to go play my Monopoly game, man. Battleship! There's about to be a game of Rummacube backstage. I gotta tap out and go back there. This was War Machine. Please, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back, Google it, look up their old matches, look up how badass that team was, and now you look at what they are doing today. And you tell me I don't have a right to be concerned or even frustrated with the way they've been utilized or not utilized. Main event, Charlotte Flair versus Asuka. That's right, more Charlotte Flair. You thought you were done? Ah, hell no. What's that? Charlotte's no longer on Wednesdays? No problem. We'll just have her twice a show now. That's McMahon for you. Twice every show now. At least. She was in backstage segments too. There was a segment where Asuka actually smacked her across her mug, and then you saw the smirk on Charlotte, and you knew Charlotte was winning that match later on. There was no way they were going to let her get smacked and then lose. For some reason, Sasha Banks and Bayley, of course, because again, they're booked as if they're scared to go anywhere without the other. But Bayley and Sasha come out for commentary. Why? Just like the beginning of the show, they have nothing to do with Asuka and Charlotte at Backlash. Nothing. In fact, Charlotte has nothing to do with Asuka at Backlash, so that's even weird. But Sasha and Bayley coming out again to interrupt in their business. For what? Sasha and Bayley at Backlash are involved in their own little schmaz bullshit with the Iconics, Alexa, and Nikki. It's a triple threat tag title match. Because Vince cannot give any tag team just a tag team match. It has to be multiple people in there. He can't just have number one contenders. That'd be too easy. That would make too much sense. So Sasha and Bayley have their own bullshit to worry about. But then they're on commentary with Charlotte and Asuka. And there's no point. They have nothing to do with it, and it's just dumb. I mean, there's no simpler way to put it. It's just dumb. In fact, because they were out there anyway, the Iconics attacked them and took them out. Why not? Right? Storyline-wise, the Iconics are probably looking at Sasha and Bayley like we are. Like, how dumb can you be? You're just going to leave yourself exposed like that? See, the Iconics of all fucking people come out and they just tool on them. There goes Sasha and Bayley. BC, that's why they were out there, so the Iconics could jump them and prolong their storyline, days away from Backlash. That is what I am saying. Rather than just accepting it. Please, sir, can I have some more? As Vince is feeding you this bullshit, why not stop and think and question the bullshit? If that's the best you have to build Iconics in Sasha and Bayley and Nikki Cross and Alexa, we're going to have Sasha and Bayley for no reason be at the commentary table and get jumped. If that's the best you have to build that match, then it's no wonder why nobody cares about the match. I hope this makes sense. The match itself was over 25 minutes, nearly a half an hour. An entire half an hour was dedicated to that, but with the introductions and everything, it was just under. So over 25 minutes, but it didn't matter. It was ruined by an idiotic and botched finish. Best way I can put this. Nia Jax ruins a 25-minute match. Can't just blame her. I mean, this is booking, obviously. Nia just didn't come out on her own. Nia's like, fuck you, Vince, I'm going out there. No, this was booking. You can't blame Nia for this. But they have Nia come out and ruin what was an over 25-minute match. When you go over 25 minutes, we just have to have a clear-cut winner. You can't do a schmaz finish with something that's over 25 minutes. Even over 20 minutes. That's the cutoff. So Nia comes out and ruins this thing. Asuka takes her out with a fucking booty to the face, whatever the fuck you call that. And when she turns around, she gets a boot by Charlotte. Asuka kicks out, but the referee doesn't give a fuck because it's Charlotte Flair. In the Golden Child's world, if you get a 2 count, that counts as 3 and it's a victory for Charlotte. But it was botched. Asuka kicks out. The referee says, I didn't see anything. Charlotte wins. And again, if you think this was storyline, you would be wrong. They never even mentioned it when they did the replay. They cut out at 2, so nobody even saw it. It was clear that WWE was trying to hide it. Now, because the community is going to talk so much about it, you're probably going to start hearing about it on WWE.com. They're probably going to mention it and use it in future storylines. But trust me, this was not supposed to be a storyline. Oh, Asuka didn't lose clean. No, trust me, they didn't even talk about it. And it was clear as day she kicked out. When they did the replay, they cut away. They didn't show it on the replay. This was just a botch. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter to fucking Vince anyway, or Charlotte, or the fucking referee. We all knew what the outcome was going to be anyway. There was no way Asuka was winning that match. And days away from a big championship defense, we have the champion losing for no reason to fucking Charlotte Flair, who has no reason being in there with Asuka 6 nights before Backlash. Can't make the shit up. Literally, you cannot make any of this up. This is how they book their champions. And again, they will move Vince McMahon will move mountains to try to get Charlotte Flair over. And we've seen for years him try to do that with Roman Reigns. And guess what? It failed every fucking time. Charlotte Flair. It is now in the years. It's past months. Years we've been seeing this with Charlotte Flair. And guess what? It is failing. Time after time. Much love and respect to all you guys. Obviously, AEW NXT's reviews. That's right, I will be doing NXT this week. They at least went over the 700,000 viewer threshold. I like to be at least 750. Both were over 700,000. So there'll be an AEW and NXT review this week. Obviously, the podcast where we will have the preview for Backlash, and you're not going to want to miss that. You hear about ranting on YouTube by people? Oh, you ain't going to miss or want to miss the amplification that I give Backlash during that preview on this week's podcast, because I'm going to blow that shit out the water. And, of course, you have the SmackDown review and reaction Saturday morning. And then next Monday morning, we are going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly of Backlash. So my point is, there is a ton of content within the next 7 days. Stay subscribed, stay notified, guys, because we're going to be coming hardcore this week, man. I ain't playing around, dude. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to get amplified, though, in the process. You've been warned. We're going to get amplified. Think, be, live. Amplified always. For now, check you later.